Search my YouTube channel.
Subscribe to Yan Blogstar.
Subscribe to Yan Blogstar. Kabala
Subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe. Ramon Magsaysay 1907-1957, the 7th Philippine President, credited with restoring peace, law, and order during the Philippine crisis of the 1950s and the Hukbalahap Rebellion. He was the first Philippine president from the landless lower middle class. The petty bourgeois stratum of society. Ramom Magsaysay was born in Iba, Zambales, on August 31, 1907, to Ezequiel Magsaysay, a blacksmith, and Perfecta del Fierro, a schoolteacher. He entered the University of the Philippines in 1927. He worked as a chauffeur to support himself as he studied engineering. Later, he transferred to the Institute of Commerce at Jose Rizal College 1928-1932, where he received a baccalaureate in commerce. He then worked as automobile mechanic and shop superintendent. When World War II broke out, he joined the motor pool of the 31st Infantry Division of the Philippine Army. When Bataan surrendered in 1942, Magsaysay escaped to the hills, organized the Western Luzon guerrilla forces, and was commissioned captain on April 5, 1942. For 3 years capt, Magsaysay operated under Col. Merrill's famed guerrilla outfit and saw action at Sawang, San Marcelino, Zambales. Magsaysay was among those instrumental in clearing the Zambales coast of the Japanese prior to the landing of American Liberation Forces on January 29, 1945. After the war, Magsaysay was appointed by the U.S. Army as military governor of Zambales. On February 4, 1945, on February 8, 1946, Magsaysay was discharged from the army. He was elected representative of Zambales on April 23, 1946, and re-elected in November 1949 under the banner of the Liberal Party. In Congress, Magsaysay served as chairman of the House Committee on National Defense and belonged to numerous other committees. In April 1948, President Manuel Roxas appointed Magsaysay to head a veterans mission to Washington, which lobbied for the passage of the Rogers Bill. In 1950, Magsaysay attacked the Liberal Party, dominated administration for corruption, and called for reforms of the deplorable social conditions which had produced the Hukbalahap Rebellion. The rebels were peasants fighting for democratic rights, equality, and justice. Time November 26, 1951 reported that when politicians kept him from buying Quonset huts he needed as schoolhouses for Zambales, he gathered some of his wartime guerrillas, raided a surplus dump, and made off with 140 huts. Later he paid for them 50 centavos, 25 cents apiece, the price he figured the profiteer who owned them had paid in the first place. Prompted by his American advisors, President Elpidio Quirino appointed Magsaysay Secretary of National Defense. On Sept. 1950, from 1950 to 1953, Magsaysay revitalized the army with vast American aid. The army had been demoralized, politics-ridden. On Sept. 1950, from 1950 to 1953, Magsaysay revitalized the army with vast American aid. The army had been demoralized, politics-ridden, and virtually defeated by the mass revolution underway. Within 83 days, Magsaysay retired 3 generals, discharged and demoted many annoying and inefficient officers, and gave the 18,000 enlisted men better food, quarters, and pay. He also reorganized the vicious Philippine constabulary and created the Scout Ranger battalions, whom he commanded to kill hawks. Magsaysay sent civilian officers to the barrios to propagandize in support of the government. He gathered $500,000 from the oligarchic ruling class, the big landlords, compradors, and bureaucrat capitalists to pay as reward for any information leading to the capture of the Hek leaders. This policy led to the arrest and conviction of 29 top leaders of the People's Liberation Army and 6 members of the Politburo of the Communist Party of the Philippines. Labor leaders, professors, diplomats, and many other innocent citizens were arrested and deprived of their right to due process of law under a repressive martial law. As head of the Defense Department, Magsaysay encouraged Hek surrenders by offering medical treatment, parole, and homesteads in the Mindanao jungle. The Economic Development Corps, an agency of the government, then built farmhouses, schools, hospitals, and other facilities in Mindanao under Magsaysay's initiative. He also tried to rehabilitate the Huks by offering vocational training and loans to aid in establishing small businesses. From a later perspective, these measures, including anti-communist indoctrination, had practically no result. The re-established Communist Party, Marxist-Leninist, reoccupied and liberated large areas of central Luzon and rapidly gained ground in other parts of the country. November 1951, Magsaysay sought to keep the elections clean by employing his 4,000 army and 5,500 reserves to police the land. The opposition Nacionalista Party won a decisive victory against the ruling liberals. In the summer of 1952, Magsaysay was also responsible for the military solution to the protesting Muslims, who had been victims of Christian chauvinism, land grabbers, and government malfeasance. Magsaysay also sent forces to fight under the United Nations command in Korea, accession to the presidency. For his reputation of energy and honesty, Magsaysay was idolized by the electorate, which voted him to succeed Quirino. Magsaysay had earlier resigned from the Liberal Party and was subsequently chosen candidate for president by the Nacionalista Party. On November 10, 1953, Magsaysay won by a landslide victory. During Magsaysay's term, the Hek leader Taruk surrendered. In 1954, Magsaysay's government renegotiated the iniquitous Bell Trade Act of 1946 into the Laurel-Langley Agreement, which maintained the economic subservience of the nation to United States monopolies, the peso currency, controlled by the United States dollar. Magsaysay also signed the first agricultural commodities agreement with the United States in 1957, thus perpetuating the colonial pattern of the nation's economy. Also responsible for the passage of the anti-subversion law, which curtailed the citizens' democratic rights of assembly, free speech, and belief. In line with his position as America's staunch friend in Asia, Magsaysay was the chief sponsor in forming the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization (CETO). He was killed in a plane crash on March 17, 1957.